What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS.
Established over 100 years ago, Watkins Books is one of the world's oldest and leading independent bookshops specializing in esoterica. We have the widest selection of esoteric books in the UK, and our friendly and knowledgeable staff are here to assist you in a unique ambience of our shop. So come and visit us in the heart of London as we're open every day.
The More Show is supported by Mindscape, Paranormal and UFO Matrix magazines, available for download on all major digital platforms.
If you like what you watch, then don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates on The More Show. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new weekly television and radio shows.
The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world on the internet, you're now watching the UK's only alternative late-night talk show, and I'm Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. On today's show, I'm about to be joined by my guest, Suzanna Axisa. Now, as some of you may know, Suzanna has appeared previously on the show, and we'll just watch a quick clip here of the past interview.
So, the two major intuitive events in my life, three major intuitive events in my life, have all been repeated in sessions where I went for a channeling session with a trusted teacher who could channel. And the words have come through. The ascended masters, the two of them, three of them were channeling.
Well, Suzanna now joins us to give us an update on her coaching work and much more. So without further ado, Suzanna Axisa, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kevin. It's great to be here again.
Again, that's right. Now, just remind the audience, how long ago was it when you were last on? We're looking at a couple of years back, wasn't it?
I think we are. I think we're looking at 2 or 3 years ago. In fact, I'd suggest 3 years ago.
Has it been that long? OMG. Yes, it could have been. It could have been. So much has happened since then, hasn't it?
Well, it has. I know that you've had a lot happening with you because of the television work. And for me, it's been a case of revolution in my work. So very, very exciting.
Okay, so just remind the audience a bit about what you do now and just some of the projects that you're working on as well.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm called the Gap Coach. I'm Suzanna Axisa. I'm the Gap Coach. And what is that gap, I hear you ask? Well, it's the gap between knowing what you're capable of being and actually living what you're capable of being. And because I'm highly creative, then my focus is on the creative aspect of us all, although I have to admit that I tend to work with frustrated creatives who already have a level of success, but who know that they can do so much more. And all of this started from about 11 years ago when I was told that I was a channel. And I thought, no, I'm a management consultant, not a channel. But life has a very strange and interesting way of getting you to accept your strengths and being an empath, understanding people's feelings and finding a way to help them connect with their pain and work through it in a fun way. It appears to be one of my gifts. So as a result of channeling, I taught myself to channel for a year and then work with Ascended Master Lord Lanto. I kept asking, I kept being asked, will you do a channeling course? Will you do a channeling course? And I really didn't want to do one to begin with. One, because I thought I'm not good enough. What can I teach anybody? I can just about do this myself. And then I thought, okay, if there's obviously a pattern here, I believe in synchronicity. So I think I'm meant to do a channeling course. But I don't want to do the typical channeling course. So what I did was I set up a 12-part course that lasted for 2 years, where we would declutter everything that stops us from trusting our intuition, and then go on to building healthy habits and practices that would help us consolidate and trust and work with and flourish with our intuition. And a few years after that, I started to be slightly embarrassed when students would introduce me as their intuition channeling teacher, because I thought, I'm really not. And first of all, I thought, it's just your left brain playing games with you and telling you, well, intuition is flaky. And then I thought, no, it's much deeper than this. And so I looked at it. I'm very good at observing myself and my thoughts. And I thought, it's much more than this. What it is that I am much more than this. And what I'm ready to do is start consciously using the steps that I developed to reach my potential and feel comfortable with that. And I turn them into breakthrough moments for others, and I didn't realize that I was turning them into breakthrough moments. And then synchronicity again, people started telling me, wow, this weekend's been a real breakthrough. I love this work. It's really transformative. And I thought, this is it. I'm teaching breakthrough moments to get you to your potential. And then years went by and I was very happy with that. Thank you very much. Reduced the 2-year course into a 1-year course, refined it, was still very happy at the power of the work that I was sharing. And then over the last 18 months, there's been a now you're ready for the next step. And the next step has been to go to what it is I really do. And what it is that I really do is simply helping you and empowering you to do what you do best, to work to your strengths, because strength psychology has always been a passion of mine. So using the creativity, using the intuition, which is part of our inspiration package, I refocused everything. It's not that really I've changed anything apart from the way I deliver the material. And now we do it in intensive retreats where you get 7 days breakthrough work and 1 day intense inspiration and creativity sessions for creatives who want to use so much more of their creativity. So we do that around the world, and it's great fun, and I love it.
And obviously you're meeting like-minded people who, you know, are not bothered about the idea that it's coming through channeling this information, who are more generally struck by the idea that this could change their life, and that they're ready for your energy to come into theirs in a sense, and it feels right for them as well.
Absolutely, because the common denominator is that people come to me because they're frustrated. They've tried everything else and it doesn't work. They've tried all the teachers, all the coaches, it doesn't work. So I have an added advantage, and that is that I spent the first 20 years of my life in complex trauma, which killed all but about 5% of my creativity stone dead. And about 20 years ago, I had a heart attack and thought, well, the way I'm living my life is not the way I'm meant to live it, because it's killing me. So I thought, okay, back to the intuition and back to the creativity again, and let's see what happens. And that was really the starting point of, wow, this is amazing. I've been putting together all of this stuff over the decades to help me come out of complex trauma, and it works with others. And
right.
So it was that. So it doesn't matter where it comes from. It doesn't matter what word we use. We can say channeling, we can say inspiration, we can say intuition. For me, it's all part of the same skill set.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And okay, so when you're doing these courses, without giving too much away, obviously, because you know, we haven't got the time to go too deep into this in some sense. With the courses, then, are you getting others to channel in a sense, or is it you're channeling information on their behalf, or how is that? Well, are they getting more in touch with their psychic, when their intuition?
I think they're getting. It's not about channeling. It depends on the audience, because some groups are overtly spiritual, and so they like the master to pop in every now and then, and they like to see me change when I say, oh, I change the way I speak. Apparently my body language changes, and they know it. So they know the master's in, and they feel the energy change, and they find that exciting. With other groups, it's all about your creativity, and the first part of your creativity is your inspiration. And what are you doing to protect that and trust that and let it flourish, so that your creativity...
Sure. But to get to that point...
Nothing. I use the language for the audience I'm working with.
Right. Okay. So, but they're obviously okay. So there's levels and ways here of how to get into what is your gut instinct, what is your true calling, what is your passion, and yeah. Obviously, you know, there's a lot more levels to it than what we're just, you know, briefly touching on here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My way into it, with the way I work, is through your creative inspiration. If you keep having these creative thoughts, it's for a reason. And it's because your greatest gifts, your greatest potential lie behind all of those inspired thoughts, those wow moments that perhaps you're doing very, very little with.
Okay. Well, you know, I want to get back to your backstory as well into channeling, just a little bit for the audience, because this is very interesting as well. So we had, when you had that heart attack, what was going on in your life then? Were you a GAT coach, or what was you up to?
I was, actually I was a self-employed chef. I had a small business. I had had a very bad experience with a client who had left me with a massive debt. And I was working all of the hours in the day, 7 days a week, trying to keep my home and not lose it in order to repay the debt. And it got to the stage where I couldn't take any more.
Of course.
So before that, I'd been doing corporate problem solving. And after that, I went back into corporate problem solving, firstly as an ethical marketer through fundraising, and then using that, you know, ethical business approach, I went into back into corporate problem solving.
Okay. So at what point then did the channeling start for you? When was that voice there?
Much later. It started 11 years ago. So 20 years ago was the heart attack. About 11 years ago, I think either 10 or 11, no, 11, I was told you are a channel. And I was doing a master's course in Brisbane in Australia. And the first day, and we were doing, Masters of Metaphysics. And the first day, nothing was said. I was absolutely terrified. I knew something big was going to happen, but I didn't know what, and I was very scared. And on the second, no, but I was told you'd make a great astrologer. And that was okay because I'd been studying astrology and really enjoyed it, really appreciated it, but couldn't remember any of the facts. They would not stay in my head. So I said to the teacher who'd said this, who'd channeled it, don't think that will work for me. I can't keep any of the facts in my head. And she said, well, it's not that you have to, it's just that you have the skills to make a great one. And then the next day, I'd relaxed after that because I'd had a compliment. I felt safer in the group. I knew them a little better. I'd spent the first day with them. We'd had a lovely evening together. And the second day I was relaxed. And then the bombshell hit. You are a channel. And I think I cried for a month. No, I can't do this. I'm left brain.
Right.
I'm a corporate troubleshooter. I don't do this.
Right. And what kind of course was this again? This was a
Master of Metaphysics.
Master of Metaphysics, but you did not expect you expected something big, but not for that to come out. Right.
No,
okay.
Absolutely not. That was the last thing. If I had expected it, I wouldn't have gone.
Right. And
Anyway.
and then what's progress since then? I mean, what kind of information comes through for you? Is it just for your is it information coming through that obviously that's helped you put these courses together, but there must be I would presume more obviously.
Well, let's go back to the creative word I use, which is inspiration. And you don't limit inspiration. We all know that if you try to limit inspiration, you soon limit yourself and your potential and your abilities. And it's exactly the same with intuition. You can't control it. It comes up when and where. And you have to accept that there will be moments that are incredibly uncomfortable, but they're there for a very loving reason. So you work through them. So I got through my discomfort with a month's crying and getting used to the idea. And then because I'm a pragmatist and I'm a problem solver, I said, well, if you were told this information, it's for a reason. If you've got this skill, it's for a reason. So what's your next step? The next step is to go find a teacher that you trust. So I went back to my teacher in Australia and said, do you know anyone in Europe? And she said, I'm sorry, I'm not. But I've been told, because she channeled Maitreya, that I need to come to Europe and teach you. And she said, you won't be able to afford me and my husband coming for 5 days. It's way too much. So get people together that you think might be interested, and I'll put a 5-day intensive together. And not that my teacher wasn't very good, because she changed my life and she's brilliant. But I had a very serious meditation practice that I'd had for a good 10 years, and it all went. With the channeling, it went. I came home, didn't do anything, knew that I couldn't meditate anymore, and so just started practicing. And I practiced anywhere from 2 to 5 times a day, just 20 minutes a day, sitting down, getting my recorder, and just saying to the guides who I was working with, I'm ready, and then just letting whatever needed to come out of my mouth come out. Feeling sure that it made absolutely no sense, but then finding when I listened to what I'd said that it made much more sense than I realized. And then I would write it down in a book. So I did that for a year. Between the second and third year of our 3-year masters. And by the end of the third year, practicing every day, went back to Australia, and I'd suddenly turned from being the person with the most fears to being the rock star of the group. Because on the first day, the teacher just said through her master, well, some amazing things have happened to you all, but we have to say that Suzanna has worked really hard. And in the meditation tomorrow, she's going to meet the Ascended Master that she is going to channel from now on. And my response was, no one channels an Ascended Master after just a year of practice. And Maitreya turned around and said, you do.
Yes, I would say you do. I mean, your connection with that master must have been from eons ago, in a sense. And
yes,
if we think outside time, it was just probably it happened already. But before you incarnated here, that connection was already there. So it was just whether you had the free will or not to go with it, and you chose to.
I did choose to. I mean, he was. Some channels disagree with this. But for me, it's very clear that the master I channel was Lao Tzu in a previous life. And I have lots of memories with me being an apprentice scribe when he was in the royal palaces as the librarian. And he has said on more than one occasion, since the moment you were conceived as a soul, this has been your purpose. Not the only one, but you've been in training to channel me.
Right. And are you still channeling?
Oh gosh, yes, yeah.
Daily?
Sorry.
Daily?
I didn't hear that.
A daily channeling?
It's an ebb and flow. It's part of my life. If you might call it channeling, you might call it shower thoughts, you might call it an aha moment, you might call it intuition. I don't know, but there is a constant link. And I know that when I'm struggling, for example, lots of things have had to be rewritten, lots of new stuff coming up for me in my work. So I've had to find ways to describe it. So the easiest way for me to do that is to take a break, go and walk near a river or do some walking in the mountains, and it will come. I also offer channeling sessions, not a one-off. I don't do one-off sessions anymore. I find that it's a quick fix, and the master and I don't like doing quick fixes. We like doing breakthrough moments that lead to lasting change. So we do offer packages of 3 sessions with the master where you talk to him and then you talk to me to get the human input from it. And that's usually enough to solve a very simple problem and to get to the root of it and give you the tools you need and the confidence you need just to move on. Then we go up to 6 sessions, 9 sessions, and 12 sessions. And we've found that the 12 sessions are really, really popular. I'm stunned they're really popular. And for everybody who's making a big change in their life, then having a session with the master once a month and having access to me throughout the months to say, when the master said that, what did he mean? That's really popular. And I've noticed that clients who take more than one session now really fast track ahead. It's incredible. It's really exciting.
Right.
So in some form, I suppose I do channel every day. It's a very grand word. I use it carefully. But then I also do channel professionally for clients who want this level of help.
Absolutely. Yep. Okay. And is there any other channelers out there now that you find that you yourself watching or you find yourself having an interest in at all, or do you really stick within your own sort of not bubble in a sense, but you don't sort of go out there to look?
I don't go out there to look, and I don't want to be influenced. I always say to clients, don't tell me about what your issue is. I don't want to know. The less I know, the more certain I am of channeling, because I have a big doubting Thomas and a big skeptic in me. So I have to find ways to manage that so I can be a clean channel. So I don't go looking, but a friend and client of mine introduced me to, I think his name is Matt Kahn, an American.
Matt Kahn.
Kahn, yes, I think so. He has a great sense of humor, which I adore, and I like a lot of what he says, although I don't agree with all of it. So I do follow him sometimes, particularly when I'm in need, but I tend to stay away from other channels because I don't I want the master's words to come cleanly out of me. And the only way...
I suppose that's always difficult, though. Sorry to interrupt there. It's always difficult because it's still going through yourself as a filter. No matter what channeling comes through people, it's still the person that's filtering it still with the, in a sense.
Yeah, very true. Very true. But there are ways to be a clean filter. And one is to do, if you need to, and I have needed to because of the complex trauma, I have needed to do a lot of personal development work on me. In fact, all of my work is based on my experience with me. If it works for me, then I'll share it with you. If it doesn't work for me, I don't share it with you.
Okay.
So and the master gave several years ago some master classes in what it means to be a clean channel. So do your work, and then do your work to trust, and then do your work to accept that you are just the go-between. So there are 3 areas. Clean up your act, clean up your energy. That's not to say you can't channel when you're full of fear, because I'm living proof that you can. But it's made so much easier if you are comfortable in your body. And then you can let what happens, because the masters will use your experiences. That's, as the master said to me one day, I said to him many years ago, please don't use my experiences, master. And he just turned around and said, oh no, my dear, why do you think you've had them?
Well, that's it. I mean, you can't. I mean, even the taste of milk chocolate is probably just as important when we go back home. So an experience that anyone has down here is probably so special, and so just to discount yours, you just can't do that.
I was very embarrassed though, and I had enormous feelings of not being good enough. I felt I had no right, so I didn't want, and I hadn't worked through a level of depth in my issues that I would later work through because of the master and because of all of this work. So the key is be comfortable in your own skin, and then you can sit back, relax, and let the master speak. Try not to have illness, try not to have vast amounts of pain in your body, because that's really seriously going to hamper you.
Yes, and we'll get into some of these things in just a bit. Well, not maybe just those things, but they lead on to that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you mentioned something else as well about, you disagree with what some other channels have to say, but would you say that perhaps that we're all here to learn our own truth, and not everyone's truth is going to be the same truth, and that's okay because you're creating your own experience?
Absolutely. It doesn't matter that I don't agree with this channel, or that person. It's like having a discussion. You don't agree, but you say, tell me more, because I want to understand, because in that understanding, I'm enriched. And in that clarification, you're enriched.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't matter at all. If anybody's listening and got the idea that, because I don't agree with the channels, it means they're wrong. No. Just clarifying that, and I knew you was going to say that anyway.
I've had people on from the Seth Institute recently. Seth was an entity that was channeled by Jane Roberts in the late 60s to with the 84 when she passed away, and one of the things that struck me with the Seth material, it all strikes me, to be honest with you, it's great stuff, just like the Casey stuff, just like the Crying and loads of other great material that's out there, is the thing that the Roberts had in a front room, which was, we create our reality. It's one of the things that Seth said, we create our reality, so that any reality can be uncreated. Would you agree?
Yes, we create and uncreate. It's all up to us. It's total responsibility, but responsibility is a fairly heavy word. It has a heavy energy. It's great fun doing that. It's great fun seeing what you can do just from your thoughts and your beliefs.
Yeah,
have fun with it, play with it. Yeah.
And I really appreciate you sharing some of those deeper parts of how you channel as well, just for anyone else out there who's perhaps going through the same process, or can at least have some guidance on that. I really appreciate that. And I think we all channel, we just don't know we do. Yes,
absolutely. You'll recognize it in the form. This is the way I teach a lot of my students is, if you feel that around your jawline there are words that are coming and they won't go away, or your jawline's getting tense or your throat's getting tense, it means that there are words coming. Let them come. You'll recognize channeling when you use the term, I'm the messenger, or when someone says, "You've just been my messenger," it's channeling, and we all do it to some degree. The guidance is the same: be as clear a channel as you can be by doing your own inner work, so that your judgments, your fears aren't affecting the message.
And what's lovely about your work as well is, with it being channeled, you know, it's work that comes from a high source as well, in the sense that you know, some other gap coaches, or you know, NLPs, whatever they may be, you know, may be missing the mark on sometimes. So you know, that is very interesting, the work that you do. Well, I'd have so many questions about the channeling, really, that I think we really need to get on to some other bits and pieces here that you've come on for as well, just to talk about your work. But it is part of it. That's why I wanted just to clarify that with you.
Yes, it started it all off, so it's definitely inspiration for it.
Yeah.
One thing I would like to say is, yes, some of my work comes from, I would like to think that most of it is guided by an amazingly wise, amazingly loving, amazing fun-loving energy. But I have to be honest and say, what you see is what you get with me. So if, for example, we're doing some work on shame or the inner critic, I will energetically always prepare before I go into the classroom or the group and present the work, which means that something comes up from me to work on, so that I can share with you with very, very fresh memories. And I will always start saying, I do not know what's going to happen, because this has been happening to me. So let's see how it plays out in the group. So it's not always, it's often, you know, very human difficulties that I'm working with. And you know, my role is to be honest and say, you know, that was the master, but I think this is me.
Yes, yeah, well, of course, yeah, and you know, that's great honesty to be able to say that, because it's not all the time will it be channeled information coming through. You know, it is you as well. You know, you are two of the same. Will you call it him? You call this channeled entity the master? Is that a name that you came up with, that felt right, or was that a name that they gave?
No, it was. In the Master of Metaphysics that we did in Australia, we studied lots of metaphysical aspects, one of which was the more the European school of ascended masters. And so this master, I'd studied Lanto, but I felt I had nothing in common with him whatsoever. And I knew that I'd worked with other masters in different phases of my development. And when my teacher announced, tomorrow you're going to be introduced to the master you're going to channel from now, we were in a meditation. He came, Lord Lanto came through, and I went, "You?" And I still laugh, because he laughed, and he still laughs. It's you. I have nothing to do with you. And I've learned that he has a special laugh that says, "You'll see. You know, all will be revealed when the time is right." But then I was convinced that I had nothing in common, no links whatsoever with Lord Lanto, as he's called in the tradition. So call him the master to shorten it. Yes.
Yeah, it's funny, and all this channel information, and it's all coming from you know, this level that we seem to go back to when we pass on. And there's, you know, many different names for these channels, but they do all seem to say as well that sometimes it's just a name. It's not what we would call ourselves. Yeah.
And the master in the early days used to say, "We are we." So I am just separating out one part of the energy to focus on one thing with you. And because of that one thing, you know me as Lord Lanto, but we are we.
We are we, yeah, we are one, yeah, we are we. Incredible stuff, it really is. And okay, well, obviously your work is very much into creativity as well. And do you think creativity gives us purpose, gives us meaning?
Yeah, definitely. I think if There is a form of psychology called strengths or positive psychology, developed by Martin Seligman in the States. I think he is or was a professor of psychology. Anyway, this form of psychology is really, really taken off, and it's one of my favorite forms of psychology. I use it and archetypal psychology as well as cognitive a lot. And in the work that he's done on positive psychology, they came up with 24 character strengths divided into different main categories. And creativity is one character strength, and it forms the wisdom and knowledge main group of character strengths. So in it is things like curiosity, love of learning, obviously wisdom. And yes, any strength that we work to will give our life meaning. If it's one of our major strengths, then it is going to give our life an extra dose of meaning. It is where we need to go to and be comfortable with and use and make as important as the air we breathe in order to reach our potential.
What happens if we don't use it, do you think?
Frustration, lots and lots and lots of it. Frustration, delusion, disappointment. It eats away at our trust and our trust in ourselves and our trust in our dreams. We play safe, we play small, we become invisible and grey.
So it doesn't always mean we have to be self-employed. If we find creativity, we find what we really want to do, we find our purpose. We can find creativity in working for others.
Oh, we can find creativity. I'll give you an example from my own life. When my creativity, through my empathic abilities, when I understood that was really unsafe for me, I chose the safe route. And because I was in foster homes, if I wanted to stay on at higher education, which was, unheard of in those days, I had to choose a safe route for higher education. So I chose educational psychology because it would give me a profession that, people in local government thought was a suitable profession and a real profession. So I chose problem solving. So you can be a problem solver as a project manager. You can be a problem solver as a management consultant with clients who are struggling with innovation. You can use your creativity in Christmas decorations, making them. You can use your creativity in teaching your kids essential life skills that they aren't taught at school, showing them different ways to see a problem and turning it into from a problem into a benefit. So you can use creativity in any number of ways. The way you speak, the way you dress, the way you cook and put ingredients together. You don't have to be a filmmaker or an artist or a graphic designer or a novelist.
And when you're really in tune with yourself as well and trust your gut instincts as well on something that you really want to do, creativity is part of that process. So when you find purpose, you're more creative in manifesting that purpose, in making it the vision that you saw in the first place.
Yeah, creativity is in one way about asking that famous question, what if? And another famous question that I understand certain teachers say is an absolute no-no, and the question is why? And I can understand that why they say that there's a negative aspect of a why question, because you might be asking for confirmation of what you already believe. But there's another why, and it's a why that's open. And that why can never be a negative. That why is, why do you say this? Help me understand, because I really do want to understand you, because I think you're saying something that's really going to be helpful for me, but I haven't quite got it yet. So why? So the why question for me, yes, it has its downside, but has such a huge positive side that there's no way it can be relegated to don't ask why questions, because they're automatically bad. So creativity is the part of us that asks, what if we did this instead of that?
Yeah.
Why does it have to be like that? Why have we always done it the same way?
Do you think, though, that creativity as well is partly being, whatever your creativity is, That it has to be of service to others?
I think, a very good question, Kevin. I think that anything that's of service to you and that makes you more vibrant, that stops you filling up the cemetery with your greatest gifts and your best work, is of service to others. And if you put it at its lowest common denominator, people who are creative need to be creative. There's this absolutely brilliant quotation from Pearl Buck that, if I may, I'm just going to share with you, because she's Pulitzer Prize winner, 4th female Nobel Prize winner, a pretty amazing woman, not just for now, but for her times. And she wrote this very long piece on creativity, which I've shortened. And she said, the truly creative mind in any field is no more than this: the overpowering necessity to create, and create, so that without the creating of music or poetry or books or buildings or something of meaning, his very breath is cut off from him. He must create, must pour out creation by some strange, unknown, inward urgency. He is not really alive unless he is creating.
Right.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. So if we're alive, we're happy. If we feel that aliveness, we are happy. Just being happy benefits the people around us, benefits all of our relationships, the way we think, all of our decisions, because we make sound decisions when we feel happy.
Yes, that is so very true. Sometimes the simplest truths like that resonate a lot, don't they? Just being happy makes a major difference, doesn't it? And you know, when we're not happy, maybe we're going against something that's so obvious in front of us, to find that creative side of us, that passion side that we really want to do, or whatever it is that may be our calling, that we just, you know, we've put things in the way purposefully to block it. Yeah.
Absolutely. We're not yet ready to deal with the block. And I don't want to seem that, you know, we always have to be happy, because that's not true. You know, it's not about a Pollyanna syndrome where anything that makes us happy is fine and anything that doesn't make us happy, even momentarily, is to be avoided. It's not that. What happiness, I think, really means is about, and that sense of aliveness is about learning and doing things that, even though they might be creating momentary pain, and even though they might have caused past and long-term pain, emotional pain, we get the feeling that this is an important thing to do, and that we know we will come out of it all the richer for having allowed ourselves to experience that moment of pain, because it helps us appreciate the aliveness and the happiness when we get back to it.
Okay. And then just very, very briefly though, you know, what are some of the blocks, would you say, that we've put in there? What are some of the common blocks?
I thought about this. This is the first interview that I'm having since I've revolutionized my work. So I wanted to be prepared for it. And I thought, okay, what are the biggest blocks? And I came up with 5 things. And very simply, one of the biggest blocks is we try to contain our creativity. What does this mean? It means that we bring it out for special occasions. We bring it out for work and then we put it back in a box. We bring it out to make those famous Christmas decorations, especially if you're in Norway. They make brilliant Christmas decorations. And then they put it back in. Or we bring it out to play with our young children, and then we put it back in that box that's marked to be used only in case of emergency or very special occasions. And then we get on with being sensible, serious, responsible adults. We try to contain our creativity, not something you can contain. We see it as expensive, and I don't mean that it's expensive because we have to buy art supplies. I mean expensive in the sense that there is such a high cost to ourselves if we don't use it. And I came up with this because I was thinking back to, about 15 years ago, when a ridiculously talented friend of mine and I were talking, and he said to me, I see my general unhappiness with my life as being the price I have to pay for my creativity. So as long as I get to use my creativity every now and then I can put up with all the unhappiness. And that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. I've seen far too many hugely talented souls try to convince themselves that they've no right to the joy that simply is creativity. It's also a lot of other things, but underneath it all, there's this bedrock of aliveness and joy. And it's my mission, I have to say, to do something about that. The third block is we overuse the verbs of obligation, the must, the should, the have to, the need to, the ought to. I sometimes tell my clients to go for an hour without using any one of those verbs. Choose another verb. I choose to do this, not I must do it or I have to do it. I want to do this now, instead of the verb of obligation, because it literally changes our life. Because with these verbs, all we do is ensure that our needs are always at the bottom of our list of priorities, because those priorities are what we need to do for others.
Yes, I can see where you're coming from in the sense, and okay then, well let's not turn it around, but then in the sense of we come here as a soul to have this experience that we're having. Yeah, if we look at it from that perspective, then surely we have the right then to manifest in this life what we so want. So there is no. There's nothing set in stone to say that we can't manifest wealth, that we can't have abundance, that we cannot have the life that we choose now. How does your work is obviously in alignment with some of those values? Is it that we can manifest and create the reality that we want? And if that is to experience wealth, if that's what you want, then that's maybe something that we can go and do.
Okay, this is very interesting because I don't think I've said anything that would go against that. I am totally for that. But just think about our to-do list. Our to-do list will have take the clothes to the cleaners, pick up the kids, take Johnny to the football, go to the dentist, do the food shopping, clean the house. It's about things that we have to do as responsible adults. Okay? There are things that we will obviously need to do to make our lives work, both in terms of our now priorities and in terms of our priorities to be a fully realized, or in Maslow's terms, fully actualized human beings. The difference comes with our choice of words. So if I say, I need to get some money in. I haven't had a new client, so I need to get some money in. I can say I must do this, in which case my energy shrinks and I demean my creativity. Or I can say I'm ready to do that now. I'm ready to do that piece of publicity. I've got everything I need and I really want to do it. Changes the energy around it, makes it so much more enjoyable. And the result is so much more powerful because of it. So yes, want all the wealth you want. If that's what you want and it's a powerful desire in you, go get it. Do what you feel needs to be done to do it, but don't use the verbs of obligation. Accept that it needs to be done, but also accept that you'll do it when you're ready. So choose the time to do it. And recognize, I'm ready now. I'm ready to do this and I'm happy to do it.
Right. Okay.
I need to get, year-end accounts out. Do I push myself to do it? No, because I'll make the most ungodly mess. But do I know that by October I need to get my monthly accounts finished? That's a great piece of information. It's really useful. And then I turn that to my advantage. I don't say should. I will simply say, by October, the accounts will be done. So any time between now and then when I feel, I want to do an hour of accounts, I do it, because then I don't make the mistakes. So I bring a completely different energy to fulfilling my potential.
Absolutely. Okay. No,
okay.
Yeah.
That make it clear?
That makes it a lot clearer. Yeah. No, I appreciate you just going over that. Yeah. And yeah. Okay. Well,
So I just want to do the last two blocks. I told you there were 5.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into them. We don't trust our creativity, so we don't act on our intuition. We just say, oh, I have inspiration all the time, but I don't use it. Not good enough, okay? And we don't create a creative lifestyle by building me time. We need me time. When we are gloriously inefficient, but we are being gloriously effective because we're giving our inspiration and our creative inspiration time to breathe, time to develop. We're playing with it. And the 5th one is we forget its importance in our lives. We forget that for us, if it's one of our key strengths, being creative isn't a choice, it is an absolute necessity. And if we don't follow that necessity and answer its call, then we're simply a pale imitation of who we're able to be.
Okay, wonderful. What would you say then in regards to your work now? What are the sort of some of the scheduled events that are coming up this year and potentially next year as well? Because obviously your diary must be getting a little bit full by now as well.
It's beginning to fill up very nicely. So I've got more and more publicity events between here and Norway. I've got some radio work in America, and I love the radio work. What else am I doing? On the products and services side, we need to finish completing the new website, and that's taking quite a bit of work. And then we're ready to roll, really. And in September, I'm rolling out a new service that I have, which is an online intensive day, which is where I teach you based on what you need. And everybody needs, but creatives, more importantly, have a very distinct way of learning. And that is, we like to be bombarded with lots of information, and then we like to go away and be inspired by it and mind map it all. So it's all a bit chaotic. But through that chaos comes our inspiration, things that we can do with the information, the way we can use it. So the intensive 1 day online things are for that. And that's where we take an aspect of creativity, boundaries, inspiration, etc. And we work with those, and we give you the tools to be able to put in or use the inspiration in the way that you want to, build a support structure for it. So the first one is coming up in September, and that's on inspiration. The second one is coming up in November, and that's on boundaries. What sort of boundaries do you need to create to protect your creativity so that you can do your work to inspire others and help them? The second big event is again, a new product for me. It's a retreat, because we love doing in-depth work. And so the retreat offers me 5 to 7 days with clients to do a breakthrough piece of work. And the first piece of work we're doing is here in Italy, near where I live in the mountains. And it's going to be on me time. So it's called the Hedonist's Retreat. And it's 7 days where we do classroom work in the morning. But I've changed my work so that I don't teach you. I develop a journal and let you explore and play in a very structured way. And with that creative exploration, that creative laughter, that creative, let's go the whole hog here and be crazy and see what comes up, comes the most valuable learning for a creative. So I've adapted the way I support your growth to mirror the way a creative learns best. And I know that because of my own creativity. So we have 3 hours of that in the morning, and the rest of the day is dedicated to your hedonist. So chocolate tastings, wine tastings, great food, walks in the vineyards with all of our glorious October colors here in the north of Italy. It's just stunning. And stuff that we can just enjoy and get to know our hedonist and understand what they need from us in order to help us flourish. So there are some events that are coming up, and then we're, in between the traveling and the big events, that's about all I can handle for, and the one-to-one mentoring, which I do on Skype. That's about enough. as much as I can handle for the next few months.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. No, it really is great to get you back on and just to see how everything's developed and stuff. And I see, some guests you don't know whether they're going to come back on or not, but it has been enjoyable, getting you back on and listening to your story, because I think previously in the interview that we've done, we never really went into how it started off for you, and that's a very interesting side as well, and especially to see it develop. What would you say then, Suzanna, is the most important message of your work?
Oh, what a brilliant question. What's the most important message? Okay, I'm going to say that I think it's something inspired by a creativity expert who I've only just discovered but really admire, and his name is Todd Henry. And he's written 3 books. And I think the latest one is called Die Empty. And this is really inspiring me because those 2 words are what it's all about. The master once told me that, the reason we're here is to have lots and lots and lots of human experiences. And once we've resolved them and we see the meaning in them, to share them with others, because that's how we inspire others to do the same. Because all the information we learn is meant to be left here. And Todd Henry was once asked a question by someone, I don't remember who said, what do you think is the most expensive piece of real estate on the planet? And Todd came up with, I don't know, Manhattan, something like that. And he said, no, the graveyard. And Todd looked at him and went, what? And he said, the graveyard, because it's full of all of the things you wanted to do, were capable of doing, but you never allowed yourself to do. Don't take your best work to the graveyard with you. Die empty. And do whatever you need to do to make that happen, in the knowledge that if you are helping yourself, you are helping others, because there is no we without me.
I love that.
No we without me.
Well, Suzanna Axisa, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're so welcome. I've had a ball, as I had last time. So thanks for making it happen, Kevin.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests via themoreshow.co.uk, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.